Hey everybody, this is Drink64 and welcome to my reaction video for another one of those Month of Macabre videos. I can finally pronounce that word. This is for The Well. Yeah, I can't get anything from that name. This is another one by Sparrow9642 and I can't get anything from The Well. Pony falls down the well? Radio Bart thing? I don't know. So I'm just gonna have to go into this completely blind. This will probably be the shortest intro ever, but I'm just gonna have to go into this completely blind and hope that I actually figure out what the hell is going on, because with a name like The Well, what can I get from this? There's a well, it just instantly makes me think of that Simpsons episode Radio Bart, where Bart gets stuck down the well. I don't know. I really don't know, okay? So, yeah, it is a Grimdark, so obviously, but I don't know, some pony's gonna die. That's a fact, okay? Apple Bloom died in the last one. Some pony's gonna die. That's a fact. Who? I don't know. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. 3, 2, 1. Okay. And we have the Resident Evil style intro at the door. I like the intro though. Month of Macabre 2016. How many years of this could there possibly be? Okay, disturbing content.
Thunder bellowed like an invisible serpent. The wind hissed through the trees. While leaves still clung to the branches, struggled to hold on. Many surrendered, the leaves torn violently from their boughs. It would be a severe storm, they knew. Perhaps the wind would show them mercy by carrying them someplace safe. Safety, however, was the one thing in one particular pony's mind. Desperate hooves raced over the bare soil, a drum roll of violent urgency. The pony leaped over a displaced log, her golden mane flailing behind her like candlelit flames. When she landed, she didn't take a moment to rest. Her breathing was harsh, like some pony had just strangled her. But she didn't pause. She could not stop moving.
Who is the pony?
Her heart raced against her chest as if it had hooves.
Is it just some random pony?
Tired,
Or is there actually some specific pony to this?
Thunder boomed in the distance, a warning of things to come. Normally, the pragmatic mare wouldn't be stupid enough to be caught outside in such a storm. But she wasn't thinking about that right now. Right now, all she cared about was finding her little sister, Apple Bloom.
Okay, it's Applejack. It's another Applejack one. That's 2 Applejack ones in a row. Because the last one I did, I reacted to, was also about Applejack. This guy really likes Applejack because he also wrote one about Applejack. Wow.
Applejack had scolded her on more than one occasion.
I hope one of these Month of Macabre videos doesn't have anything to do with Applejack.
When she found her.
Now that'll be something.
Is what Apple Bloom would be doing out here with that storm bearing down on.
So is the well part of Sweet Apple Acres?
Happened to her?
Is there a well in Sweet Apple Acres normally?
Did a timber wolf attack? All these terrible notions.
I'm sure I remember there being a well in Ponyville in general, but is it at Sweet Apple Acres?
She had to find Apple Bloom. Had to make sure she was okay. And so, she fled the tree.
I'm not sure.
Of her baby sister.
Apple Bloom! Apple Bloom!
Her voice coarse from so much.
Oh cool, we got voice acting.
AJ paused to listen. Her breathing was almost as loud as the storm itself. Her keen ears panned around her head for signs of reply. When none came, Applejack began to run. She didn't know how long she'd been running. It seemed like forever. Applejack had grown up with these trees. She knew every square inch of Sweet Apple Acres, knew every apple tree, every fence, every rock. Yet never before had the place she'd called home seemed so alien to her. It's as if she had stepped into some warped version of the farm. The trees were less bright, more menacing. There was less grass here.
Kind of reminds me of the Upside Down from Stranger Things, in a way.
Voice was drowned out by a loud crash.
The way it's being
It sounded like
described.
a giant had just stepped into the woods. tree came crashing down before her path with a bone-shattering stomp.
I like the sound effects as well. It kind of
Crushed by the falling
makes
tree,
it seem a bit more
just barely
realistic
stopped
and
inches from where the closest
helps me
branch,
to understand
its
what's
point
going
sharpened
on
to a spear's edge, lay
a lot more.
pointed at her exposed neck. You do not belong here. The alien force seemed to be saying to her, "Leave now."
Oh man, is this a story about the
Gasping,
Alamous?
honesty fell on her backside. She'd come so close to death just now.
Is this really an alien
Extend
Alamau
behind her,
MLP
icy
story?
breath causing every hair on
No.
her body to stand on edge. She felt cold. Her breath formed into a thick mist before her. Overhead, she saw a lightning flash. Arcs of brilliant blue and white began to stab down at the earth like angry lances. She didn't have much time. It took AJ more than a minute to realize that she had lost her hat. She found it sprawled on the ground not more than 5 feet from her. It felt like losing part of her body. Applejack quickly reattached the part of herself to her head. Whole again, the mare shook off that near-death experience and leaped over the fallen tree. She would not let anything stand between her and finding her sister. Death could kiss the best part of her. Applejack skidded to a halt. She knew that voice anywhere.
Apple Bloom!
Please let Applejack die by the end of this, because Apple Bloom died in the last
She
one.
would scream that name until it answered back.
Apple Bloom! Applejack?
The tiny voice replied.
And to be honest, it'd pretty
It
much just
sounded loud,
be
as
repeating the
if
same story and the same
hollow,
outcome
as
anyway.
if an apparition of sound.
Hang on, Sugar Cube!
Applejack took off at full gallop. She ran, for how long she could not say. Ultimately, her wild flight through the forest, chasing down the voice of her sister, led her to a very unexpected and unfamiliar place. A well stood before her. It was old, ancient even, with vices crawling up its sides and moss clinging to the stones. It was half boarded up, the wood rotten and peeling. A rope dangled off the edge like a dead snake with a broken basket by its side. The well stood beside a wall of stone that towered over it like some sort of sinister sentry. Both were surrounded by a ring of trees. The sky opened up to witness nature's own.
Oh, you know what this reminds me of?
Applejack
The
did not
ring.
recognize the well.
Like,
She did,
is
however, recognize
is the
voice
demon
coming
gonna
from
crawl
inside.
up from the well?
Apple Bloom!
She rushed toward the well. She could smell putrid water and foul things.
Yeah, it reminds me of the ring.
A scent reminiscent of, well, of wrongness. Her nose scrunched up at the smell of it. What in the name of
And the
Celestia
demon's just
was
gonna come up and
doing
kill
up here?
Applejack.
Peering over the edge, Applejack saw only darkness. The void reminded her of an open maw.
Apple Bloom!
Her voice echoed. The maw swallowed it up hungrily and opened up for more.
Is that you?
The tiny voice called back.
Applejack?
Water sloshed below.
What happened, Apple Bloom? How'd you fall down there?
I'm sorry, sis. I didn't mean to be late. I got lost and then... Please help me. I think my leg is broken.
That was all Applejack needed to hear.
Hang on. I'm
You know,
gonna
it's
check.
at this point, if you hear something like that you run for the hills, because there's nothing you can do.
Storms
Like, you see a well in the middle of nowhere, as far as I can tell. You hear your sibling down there.
Get home before it was too late.
Get out, Applejack.
Glancing around, Applejack naturally focused on the discarded rope.
Seriously, get out of
She felt
there.
it for sturdiness and was surprised to find that it was still strong, if a bit smelly.
Apple Bloom, I'm gonna toss a rope down the well. When it gets down, I want you to tie it around yourself. Can you do that?
AJ called into the well.
Plus, that might not even be Apple Bloom.
Hurry, Applejack. My leg really hurts.
Applejack wasted no time in coiling the rope. She could feel the storm getting closer, like a koi fish in the path of an oncoming tsunami. After checking it a second time for sturdiness, Applejack stood over the edge,
Heads up, Sugar Cube. I'm lowering the rope.
like feeding a wire through a wall. Applejack began to lower the rope. She stood on her hind legs, gradually feeding the rope into the well. Despite the urgency, Applejack kept a steady pace. Letting fear get the better of her would do no good, especially for Apple Bloom.
Can you see the rope?
She asked after a while. She had no idea how deep the well was, but as she was running out of rope, she figured she had to be getting close.
I think so. Yeah, I see it.
Apple Bloom called back. Hope entered her sister's voice, and it wasn't long before Applejack felt a taut pull at the other end.
Great. Now tie the other end round your shoulders like I showed you.
Applejack felt the rope being pulled and twisted.
I got it, sis. I'm ready.
Apple Bloom pulled the rope.
Hang on!
Using her lower legs as leverage, the mare began to pull. Strong arms easily hoisted the filly upward. She only hoped Apple Bloom didn't accidentally bump her leg against the walls of the well. Eventually, exhaustion from all the running began to take its toll, and Applejack started to sweat. Her muscles protested, and her joints groaned. She could still feel a slight burning sensation from where the tree branch had almost impaled her. Behind her, the wind began to rush at her, as if it meant to push her inside the well.
How you doing, Apple Bloom?
Applejack said in an attempt to divert her attention to the task at hoof.
I can see the light. There, I saw a flash.
That would be the thunder. I've almost got you.
She had pulled up almost as much rope as she had lowered. It began to coil at her legs.
I can hear you better. I can see the edge.
Apple Bloom exclaimed. Applejack beamed.
Great.
She was almost there. Then she heard something. It was more terrifying than any sound the storm could make. There came a stretching, the sound of something being torn. Applejack noticed at the last second the point where the rope and the well had met was beginning to give.
No!
And Applejack's gonna fall in and die.
It snapped. Apple Bloom screamed.
Yep.
Apple Bloom!
Without thinking, Applejack dropped the rope and leapt in after her.
Great idea, Applejack!
Small as it was,
You
all she
dumb,
managed to get
dumb
through
pony.
was her right arm and a bit of her shoulder. She feverishly began to probe for her sister, knowing full well that she was already beyond her reach.
Apple Bloom!
Hot tears burned in her eyes. She had smacked her face against the side of the boards when she leaped in, and a trickle of blood seeped down her nose.
Ow.
She didn't care. None of it mattered. All that mattered was that she had failed her sister.
Applejack?
God damn it,
Bloom's voice
Applejack,
was
you
very
have
close.
failed this
She must
city.
have caught onto something, a jutting brick perhaps, or one of the vines. She had not fallen to her death as Applejack had feared.
Sis! Reach for my hoof!
Applejack yelled. The storm was almost on top of them, so she had to scream to even hear herself.
Come on!
She felt something fumbling for her hoof. It was wet and sticky. The smell of rot and dank filled her one good nostril.
Swamp
It was
monster.
overwhelming, but she tried to ignore it despite her gag reflex kicking in.
I have
It was
no
almost
idea.
Too slippery, but eventually her hoof did manage to grab Apple Bloom's. Her hoof was wet. Perhaps there was some water left in the well. Maybe it had cushioned Apple Bloom's fall. Small miracles.
I've got you. Don't you worry none.
Applejack?
As if the storm had suddenly ceased, a great silence pervaded the grove. The quiet was deafening. However, nothing surprised Applejack as much as the fact that her sister had spoken from behind her. Slowly turning her head, Applejack spotted Apple Bloom just standing there. The filly was soaked and covered in mud, her mane matted to an exhausted face. Her wide eyes were filled with confusion and apprehension, her little chest heaving with exertion. Aside from the fact that she looked like she had been through Tartarus, Apple Bloom looked none worse for the wear.
Good one.
Jaw hanging, Applejack was at a loss for words.
What are you doing, sis? Why are you screaming?
Well, good one, Blue Colton, who actually wrote this story.
But I thought you were...
Applejack spoke as if she'd never seen her before. A shiver ran up her arm and into her
I told you that wasn't Apple Bloom in the
Applejack turned
well.
back to the well where her arm was still more than halfway through the hole. Something was holding on to her. Something wet. Something wrong. Suddenly, she was pulled towards the hole with horrific strength, her back legs kicking into the air.
Well, you know what? Applejack kinda deserves this for jumping in purposely in the first place.
Her assistants enabling
I mean,
Applejack to get her.
it was dumb anyway, even if her sister wasn't there.
Pain surged through Applejack's arm as whatever had taken it was slowly, but with increasing ravenousness, began to pull.
Let me go!
She screamed, growling like some feral animal. The mare pulled with all her might. She could feel the tendons in her arms stretching beyond their natural limits. It felt like whatever had a hold of her was going to tear her arm right out of its socket. She didn't want to lose the arm, but she had to choose. She'd gladly cut it off if it meant freedom. Trapped animals did it all the time, chewing off their legs so they could manage to escape.
Oh, don't tell me Applejack's gonna cut off her arm
Could she
or
chew
a
off
hoof.
her own arm?
What is it?
Applebloom cried through her clenched teeth.
I don't know! Pull up, Applebloom! Pull!
Through their combined strength, the earth ponies struggled against the thing within. Applejack felt sick. Whatever had her felt ambiguous. She couldn't tell whether it was a hoof, a claw, or a tentacle. All she
Yeah,
knew
swamp. It's Cthulhu!
was slimy and did not want to
Oh,
let her
sorry, okay.
It wanted
I'm
to
only
drag her
joking.
into the well, into its domain, where she would never get out. The struggle went on for several agonizing minutes. The pain was unbearable. Applejack searched with all her earth pony might, her sister doing the same. But try as they might, they couldn't free her arm from the thing's grasp. It felt like they were at a stalemate, but whereas the ponies would soon tire, the thing showed no signs of letting up. Just when it seemed that her arm was about to be torn off, Applejack was let go. She tumbled backward into her sister, burying the filly beneath her. Applebloom cried out, but was freed moments later when Applejack rolled off to the side, her eyes wide. Applejack skidded away on her back, putting as much distance between her and the well as possible.
Get away from it, Applebloom!
The Apple sisters had retreated until they were sure there was no chance of the well so much as touching them. Never mind.
Okay, so nobody died.
Gasping, Applejack observed her arm. It was covered in black and brown gunk and smelled unbelievably bad. Small cuts appeared on the arm, with rivulets of blood dripping to the ground. A bit of moss clung to it as well, which Applejack quickly dislodged, wincing, for her arm throbbed with pain. Applejack felt like sitting there and crying. Her sister was in a better frame of mind.
Applejack, we've got to get you back home so that Granny can look at your arm.
Applejack didn't hear her. She couldn't take her eyes off the well. What was that thing? How had it imitated Applebloom's voice? Then another question came to the forefront. How long had it been there?
Come on.
Yeah, that's a pretty good question. Why didn't you ask that from the very beginning,
Plump her head into
Applejack?
the calf. Applebloom forced her sister to get up. Half-dazed and barely coherent, instinct took hold of Applejack, allowing herself to be taken away. Applebloom stood on her injured side and firmly nudged her sister away from the well, into what she hoped was the general direction of Sweet Apple Acres. Behind them, the well remained as it had for uncounted years, alone, but far from uninhabited. Some other lost soul would come along eventually. They always did, and it was patient. It was always patient.
Okay, so the well is sentient. There's some kind of Cthulhu creature down there. What? Nobody died. Okay, that was actually really interesting. I actually really enjoyed that one. That was really cool. Well done, Blue Colton, and well done, Sparrow, for a great reading, actually. I really liked that, actually. It was a very interesting one. I expect people to die. Ponies didn't die, and that was really cool. It was really interesting, though. Again, the idea of, like, this well, like, encircled by all these trees, reminded me a lot of The Ring, again. And, overall, it was pretty creepy, actually. The idea that there's this sentient well that can imitate ponies. It imitated Apple Bloom, then Apple Bloom was alive like at the top of the well, I believe. This is just what I'm getting from hearing it, but that's what it sounded like to me. Overall, I definitely enjoyed it. It was pretty cool. And I'm going to be taking a look at the other Month of Macabre. I'm so glad I can pronounce that now. Readings. I was a bit later than I would have liked to be with this one, because when this came out, I downloaded it when it came out, but I was in the middle of working on my star reaction back then, and that's the one that got onto Google Drive and stuff went wrong and I was in a bad place right there, so I had to wait a while to do this. Overall though, I really enjoyed this. Cool story, cool reading, I definitely enjoyed it. Nice start to the real Month of Macabre. I don't count the last one because it came out before October, but anyway, I enjoyed it and I hope you guys did too. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.